Loving the sunshine. A day closer to springtime, and the positivity just keeps flowing. I'm looking at the calendar. It's a Tuesday. We're 25 minutes away from 9 o'clock. Makes it 8:35, so that means it's time for Good Policies with Mike Barrett from Barrett Insurance. Good morning, my friend.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that warmer weather to get some of that concrete off my truck. And I saw some concrete on your car, too. That heavy, wet rain that then froze and all the moisture went away and became solid rock. Good times.
Oh, yeah, it certainly did. Saturday, I couldn't believe it when I woke up and I looked outside. I saw 3-4 inches of snow, but it was all waterlogged.
Yeah.
Trees were all bowed down.
Yeah. Didn't lose power, though. How about you?
Yeah, I was out for, 2 incidents. The last one was 3 hours. I don't know how the other one was, but anyways.
Yeah, it happened.
So I'm looking at the calendar. Okay, 12th of March. A lot of people doing something right now. They're getting their taxes done up, Mike.
I think they are.
And I think I have a great idea on what we should talk about.
All right, I'm listening.
Okay, what do people do when first off, if they get a refund or when they get a refund?
Purchase something fun, maybe?
Yeah, something they wouldn't normally be able to purchase.
Yeah.
Okay. And we, off and on throughout our Good Policy chats, talk about scheduling items. And some of our folks might not be aware of what that is. Do you think it's a good lead-in?
Why not? That's a perfect lead-in. Perfect lead-in. So, on a homeowner policy, when we talk about certain types of property, I'm going to use a simple mathematical example because I've only had 2 sips of that coffee next to me. So let's say you have your house insured for $100,000. By default, with most companies, you're going to have a limit of up to $70,000 for your personal property. Well, what is personal property? Take your house, turn it upside down, shake it. What falls out? Personal property. What stays in? House. Boom. Fairly simple method of doing that. There's some variables there, but that's a pretty good way of calculating. So here you are with $70,000 as a total limit for personal property. What's the insurance company say is the maximum amount of coverage you'll have if somebody comes in and steals all of your jewelry? $70,000?
Well, one would think that, but I'm getting the impression...
Nay. $1,500.
What?
Yeah. There's sublimits on homeowners insurance policies. On the Form 3s, the Form 5s, every company has them, whether they're using the ISO forms or the AAIS forms. You can Google that. But there are sublimits for certain types of loss. So there's a sublimit of theft of jewelry of $1,500. There's a sublimit of theft of firearms, guns, of $1,500. It can vary ever so slightly. But one of the things to think about, especially if you're going out and purchasing something for you, would be to think about either A, scheduling, or B, increasing those sublimits through the various endorsements that are available. My recommendation for the high-valued stuff, do both. Do both. And there's endorsements out there that can help you increase those sublimits of theft of jewelry and theft of guns. And I'm only using 2 out of the many sublimits that are on the policy as examples this morning. But, you can boost that up to easily $5,000, which would be much more adequate in many cases. Not all, but many.
Excuse me while I clear the frog out there.
Kermit?
So then, I can't think of many houses that don't have a computer of some form or fashion, be it a laptop or a desktop or a tablet. Mm-hmm. A lot of folks, more on the younger side of the scale as far as age goes, we'll be looking at things like 55, 60-inch big screen TVs.
Yes.
More seasoned, more established folks may think of, let's try a smart fridge.
Oh, yeah.
So these are all expensive items.
Very expensive items. Now, the good thing is there's not sublimits that would be applied to televisions and refrigerators. Don't forget, the washers and dryers are getting pretty darn smart, too. When does it make sense to have a little better coverage on that? Well, when you're really adding those components, right? So maybe go towards getting what we call a Form 5 homeowner policy. Now, a Form 3 homeowner policy is probably the most common. I'd say well over 90%, probably over 95% of the people out there have a Form 3 homeowner policy, even if they don't know it. That's the common one. Form 3 says sudden and accidental loss to your house, covered. By the way, these 16, 17 named perils over here, that's what covers your personal property. If it's not one of those things, your personal property doesn't have coverage. Form 5 says, hey, sudden and accidental loss to the house, covered, subject to exclusions. Same for personal property. So you're not limited to specific types of loss. And in the cases of some of these smart components that can really be subject to really wacky different types of things that can cause problems and cause them to have a loss, not a bad idea to have a Form 5 just to give you some better protection there. I could get into the weeds. You don't want me to. Just know that a Form 5 would better protect you for some of those really high-end components. Now, computers you can specifically list for better coverage as well.
So is it a good idea for a homeowner or even a renter, okay, to have an inventory of their valuables and keep it up to date?
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I mean, people always ask, how's the insurance company going to handle this if a loss occurs? They're going to go on your word. That's really a level of trust that's established as part of the contract where the company's providing coverage for you and you're paying for it. And there's a level of trust and agreement in there that, if you do have a loss, let's use a small one. Let's use a refrigerated food loss for an example, right? So you talked about losing power. What if you lost power long enough where you lost perishables in the fridge or the freezer? Coverage is available for refrigerated food loss, up to $500 to $1,000 or more dollars available. Some companies have small deductibles. Some companies have no deductibles. Would you be the type of person that says your refrigerator was full of lobster tails and filet mignon? Or would you be the one that says I had some farm fresh eggs, I had some Cabot cheese, I had cottage cheese, I had milk, those types of things. So that's where the level of trust is. Now, for your own sanity, sure, keep a list of the items that you have, especially the valuable ones. Really high-end ones, think about specifically scheduling or have a conversation with your agent on how to best address those.
Well, the reason I threw that out there is because when most homeowners think of a loss, they'll think of a fire. But, we've had some horrible flooding here. And let's say, for example, you have a single wide on a nice plot of land, and then it gets washed away by flood, and some of those belongings get washed out.
Yeah.
They're not physically there.
Right. And don't forget, flood is a completely separate entity in its own right. That's a separate policy that requires its own coverage. You can have flood coverage for the dwelling in which you live, and that's it. Or you can go ahead and add coverage for the dwelling and for your personal property. Did you know that if you are renting a place that's in a higher risk flood zone, you can just get flood insurance for your personal property? There are options out there to protect you. Really, it's a matter of just having a discussion, kind of like what we do every Tuesday, Jeff, right? Where we kind of, bore the heck out of people and bring up all these different topics. But this is really how you can find out what types of exposures you have, because the more you talk, the more the agent listens, the more the agent interjects, that conversation is going to lead to finding something that works for you.
Well, it also proves that the tangents or the variables are endless. So
they really are.
If they want to reach out to you,
give us a call, 748-5224. You can find us on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury, online, thebarrettagency.com, Google, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency.
All right, we're going to get you back into that cup of coffee, and we're going to go back to the music with One Republic of Magic in the Morning.